welcome to this tutorial. This tutorial is about diagonals in interlocking crochet. These stitches are diagonals which are in my patterns new, but it's not new in interlocking crochet. A lot of designers are using diagonals. So we're going to make today this sample. I have made it these samples. It's the same pattern. These two, I used a 3mm hook. For this one, which is slightly larger, I used a 3.5mm hook. The reason why I prefer 3mm is because the holes are a little bit smaller, I think, and you see less of the color behind, less confusing. So for this pattern here, I used Shepi's Katona, which is supposed to be used with a 3.5mm hook, but as I said, I use a 3mm hook. We're going to start soon, but first I want to give you some theory. This is the chart for this pattern. In black, you see, I'm going to get closer. In black, you see the standard horizontal or vertical stitches from interlocking, and in red, you see the diagonals. Now, this tutorial is not on interlocking. You can check my earlier tutorials on interlocking, on how to make the stitches, the fronts, the backs, and if you want to make this into a small pot holder, how to make the edge to have a loop to hang it. So, diagonals, they are not counted as a stitch. Diagonals are extra stitches. So this is a stitch, but this is not counted as a stitch, it's an extra stitch. All the diagonals belong to the top of the diagonal. This diagonal belongs to this stitch. This diagonal belongs with this stitch. The reason why I have here some vertical red lines is because this and this diagonal belong with this stitch. So the diagonals are made from the top to the bottom. In the tutorial I'm going to stop and explain clearly, but just to give you a general idea. The diagonals in my patterns are written as triple in the back, front one, or back one, triple in the front. I'm going to show you first my coding. This is the pattern you're going to follow. I have bolded the diagonals. The diagonal is a stitch, which is front one, together with a diagonal triple in the back. Here you have the stitch is front one, together with a treble before and a treble after. They're all bolded, so they're easy to see. And in this literature, which is also included in the pattern, you have each stitch, how to make it. If you're in an odd row, or which are you working on the front of your work, or if you're in an even row, which you're working on the back of your work. This is all literature included in the pattern that you can follow, and I'm going to show you as we do the sample. Now, a little bit extra on the charts. I'm going to use this other chart to scribble on, so we keep the other one clean. When I draw a chart, I draw the A color only, that is pointing to the front, so that my charts look pretty much exactly like you finished work. That means I only draw the orange. So the B color, the white, goes here. 1 stitch, 2 stitches, 3 stitches. In my charts, let's make a front row. Front 3, this is the chain 3 of the A color. This is a front one, this is a back one because you don't see it. This is a front one, this is a back one. And when you do the bee color, it's here, so it's the top horizontal line. This is the chain 3 of the previous row. This is a front one, this is a back one, this is a front one. Now, if we go back to the A color, you have the chain 3 of the start, front one, back one, front one, back one, and then you have a back one, but you have a diagonal first because the diagonal belongs here. So this stitch will be triple in the front, back one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a back one together with a triple in the front. So it's back one, triple in the front, back one, front one, back one, front one, DC in the last chain. Now, when you have a diagonal, it's either described let's look at this column, which is when you're working with the front of your work. It's either described as a stitch and then a treble, which is the diagonal, or as a treble and then the stitch. When you have a treble first, you make the treble on the bottom of on the stitch you just made, and then you make the front one. So it's drawn here. You make this back one, and the next stitch is a front one, but first you make the diagonal on the bottom of the previous back, then you make the front one, and then you continue. When you have the stitch first and the diagonal afterwards, you made supposedly a back one, then you make the stitch first together with a diagonal, and your next stitch will go here. So let's get practical. So now we made 40 chains for row 1A with the A color, and we're going to yarn over, and on the 6th chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're going to make a double crochet and chain 1, chain 1. Now the whole chain we're going to skip 1, and on the next we're going to make a double crochet and chain 1 the whole row. So I'm going to fast forward and meet you at the end. So now I made the 17 DCs, chain 1, skip 1, and on the very last chain you just make a DC and as I always do, and as I always say, at the end of a row I already make the 3 chains, which is the start of the next row. And there we have row 1A. For row 1B with a B color, I made 38 chains, and to finish the row 1B I have to do it connected with row 1A. So I grab row 1A, yarn over, send the hook through the second window, and then I kind of hold it there, and don't worry too much where it hangs. I'm going to fix it later. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the 6th chain from the hook. Grab my chains, pull it to the back, finish my double crochet there, and chain 1. And now I can fix this. You see, that's my first stitch. We'll do it again. Send it through the next. That was the last. Skip 1 and in the next. Send it to the back. Finish a DC in the back. And chain 1. We're going to do one more. As I reminded you, there is a whole tutorial on how to start this first row. Skip that one, in the next, grab the chain, pull it to the back, and finish the DC in the back, chain 1. You see how it starts to come? So I'm going to do the rest, fast forward a bit and catch at the end. So now I made 16 stitches in the back, and the last stitch of the row 1B is in the front. So you yarn over, and in the front of your A color you grab the last and you make a DC in the front, and 1, 2, 3 for the next row. So you have the 2 start yarns, and what I usually do, I send this one to the back, and if you want you can tie a little knot here just to keep them together for a while until you end the piece. So that is your row 1A and both colors. I turned my work around. We did row 1A. I turn my work around, and now I'm going to do row 2A with the A color. Now on the second column of my patterns you always have indicated where the B color should hang. For row 2A and for all even rows actually, the color B hangs to the back, and by making those 3 chains before I start the row, it's easier to find it. So this hangs to the back of my work, and I'm going to work with the A color. For row 2A, it's back 1, so through the back of your work. You make a DC in the back, chain 1, then you make 15 in the front. You see how the stitches here, it's kind of, the white is in front of it, so eventually it gets easier, but for the first rows you kind of have to go find it. So the stitch is there, you bring it to the front, and that's your first in the front, chain 1. 2, 3, don't forget your chain ones, 4, I'll make 15 and meet you at the end. So I made 14 in the front. I'm going to make my 15th in the front. And then I have to make one in the back. Chain 1, 1 in the back. You see, there's the stitch, but I have to find it from the back. And the last DC, you don't pick a chain, you make it in the window. And you chain 3 for the start of the next row. And that's your row 2A. We did row 2A, we're going to do row 2B with a B color. It was hanging in the back. I start with 2 in the back. Two in the back, chain 1, 1 in the front. Then I have to do 10 in the back. That's 9 in the back, 10 in the back. Now I have to do front 1. See how I folded this to work better, but then I have to kind of put it back. 1 in the front, and finish off with 3 in the back. One, 2, and the third one is the last stitch, so I don't choose a chain, I put it in the window. And I chain 3 for the next row. That's my row 2B, that's the back of my work. Then I turn it around, and that's what it looks like, row 1 and 2. Now we're going to do row 3A, and it's the first row with diagonals. Now we're going to start with row 3A. Now starts the fun and the diagonals. So I'm going to get it closer. And B color hangs to the front. A color, 3A, start with front 1. Sorry, trying to look at the phone and my lap at the same time. Front 1, back 1, front 1, and back 1. Now we're going to do triple in the front together with a back 1. So when a diagonal starts with a triple, the triple goes in the same stitch that we last did. So chain over, yarn over twice in the front, start a triple through 2, and before we finish it, we yarn over, and in the back we make a DC. Before we finish it, we have 3 on the hook, yarn over, and all 3. So you have your diagonal there. I'm going to show you on the chart. We made this first diagonal, and it's joined with a stitch in the back. Then it says back 7. 1. Oops, I forgot to make the chain. When you join them all, don't forget, like I just did, you chain 1, then back 7. Six, 7. After 7 we have a diagonal, back 1, triple in the front. Since it starts with the back, it goes on my next stitch, and the triple goes on the next one. Back 1, don't finish it, yarn over twice, triple in the front, three on the hook, and this time I remember to chain 1. Then you have back 1, front 1 twice. Back 1, front 1. Back 1. Front 1. And DC in the last window, and chain 3. That's your row 3A. Then we're going to do the row 3B. It starts with 1 in the front, 1 in the back. Now we have 3 in the front solids. So the first one is going to go here, the second one is going to go in the chain, and the third one is in this stitch. Now, as I explain, this diagonal belongs to this stitch, so it should always stay in the front, right? So we're going to make 3 solids. 1, second in the chain space, and the third one is in that stitch. Because as I told you when I showed you at the start the chart, the diagonals always go in the front of your work. So when in color B you have a color in the front with diagonals, it has to go between the 2 layers, between the diagonal and the back layer. After this we have 8 in the front, that was 8 in the front. Now we have another 3 in the front. My next stitch is that one, but I have the diagonal crossing, so I have to, not in the back, in the front, but behind the diagonal. That's my first one. My second solid in the chain space. And my third solid in the last DC. Then we have 1 in the back. And 2 in the front. The last one in the front goes in the window and chain 3 for the start of the next row. That's how your row 3A and 3B look like. There you go. Now we're going to start with row 4A. 4A starts with 2 in the back. You notice that this one hangs to the back. 2 in the back. 2 in the front. One in the back. One in the front. Now, a triple. 1 in the front, triple in the back. So, 1 in the front, don't finish it, yarn over, triple in the back. 3 stitches in the hook, 3 chains on the hook, and chain 1. Now I have to remember not to skip this one. 1 in the front. Next one is a triple, which is triple in the back, 1 in the front, and triple in the back. So it's 3 stitches in 1. Start always in the previous with a triple, triple in the back, and don't finish it. Oops, my yarn got split. That was in the same as last. Now in this one I have to put a front one, but don't finish it. And now in the next one, a triple in the back. There you go, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, all 4 together, and chain 1. You want to see what you did? You did this double diagonal, which is this double diagonal, belongs to this stitch, so the 3 stitches go in the same one. Then we have front one. Do not skip the last used. Front one. Now we have triple in the back. Together with a front one. Front one. Back one. Front two. Back two. And a DC in the last stitch. Chain 3 for the next row. And for B, this is what your 3A looks like. You have bits of the heart here and you're starting with the flower. For row 4B, you start one in the back. And now what you have to pay attention in these rows when you're working from the back of your work is you can't remember or you can't really notice from here where all your diagonals are. So now you have 5 solids. You have to look. This is okay, it's a straight stitch, so my 5 solids will go there. Second in the chain space, and then 3 in the previous 3 solids, there's your 5 solids, then back 2. Now I have to do twice 3 solids. So you see how this is? The first solid goes on this stitch, leaving that diagonal in the front, chain space, and the same with that one. I'm going to repeat that twice. So the way I do these, I first grab the stitch and then I pull it to the back. That's 1, 2 in the chain space. And the next one is a tricky one. I grab the stitch and I pull it to the front, to the back, sorry. There I did the 3 solids, and the same with the next. Grab the stitch and force it to the back. And there I did the 2 sets of 3 DCIBs. Then back 2, then 5 solids in the back. The first 3 go on the solids I have done before. The 4th goes on the chain space. The 5th goes on the next stitch, chain 1, and then 2 in the back to finish the row. And that's my row for A and B finished. Now you start to see the advantage of making solids is you see it so much clearer, as you saw in the samples, and you will see when you're done with this piece. For row 5A, the B hangs to the front, and with color A, we start with front 1, one in the back, and then we have triple in the front together with the back 1. So since we start with a triple, it's in the same stitch as before. Oops, this doesn't slide too well. Triple in the front together with back 1 and chain 1. There we have another diagonal. Back 1, front 1 twice. Then we have back 3. Front 1. Back 1. Front 1. Back 1. And now we have a triple. Back 1 together with triple in the front. Back 1 without finishing it, and double, yarn over, triple in the front, 3 on your hook, chain 1, back 1, front 1, and a DC in your last window. And your row 5B, we have 5 frontal, see where I put the front? I bring it from behind the diagonal, because this diagonal belongs to that stitch, so that goes in the front. Back 2, front 2, seven solids in the front, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, chain 1, front 2, two in the back, and we finish it with 3 in the front. It goes here, but I don't put it here because then my diagonal gets pulled out. I go behind the diagonal. 1, 2, and the last. You see you have already your hearts, and we're starting with a flower petal there. Looks nice. Row 6A, it has no diagonals, so it's simpler, or like your standard interlocking. Back 1, I'm going to fast forward to the end of the row. You can play it at a slower pace if you need to follow. And I'm finishing the row with a back 1 and a DC in the last window. And for row 6B, we have 6 in the back, five and 6. Then we have 2 sets of 3 solids. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna skip 1. Just the yarn on the way. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna skip 1, 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3, chain 3, chain 1, skip 1, and go on the next and make the second set of 3 solids and chain 1. We're going to end with 7 in the back. 7 in the back. Turn your work, and that's what it looks like so far. For row 7A, we're going to start with front 1, then 6 in the back, now we have a triple in the front first together with the back 1. So triple in the front, goes in the last stitch you made, don't finish it, back 1, finish them all, chain 1, then front 1, and now you have a back 1 together with a triple. So the back 1 goes first, don't finish, double, triple in the front. Chain 1. Back 6, sorry, got sidetracked there. Six, 1 in the front, double crochet in the window. And there you are. And 7B, 3 in the front, two in the back, now we have 6 in the front, 1 here, 1 is in this one with a diagonal in front, so we have to fetch it from here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th is in this one, which we have to fetch from here, and 6. So let's do that. 1, straightforward. 2, we fetch it from behind the diagonal to the front. 2, 3, 4, 'We skip the second DC and the next one is there. Oops. 5 and 6. There are your 6 diagonals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we have 2 in the back. And 4 in the front. And that's your row. Now we're going to start with row 8A. 8A has quite a few diagonals, 5 times. So we're going to start with one in the back, one in the front, now we have front one together with a triple in the back, front one, don't finish it, triple in the back, don't finish it, yarn over, chain 1, front 3, do not go to that stitch, go to the same as your last diagonal, one, 2, 3. Now we have a treble in the back together with a front one. Treble in the back, don't finish, together with a front one, yarn over, chain 1. Now we have a front one, and now we have a double diagonal. So we have treble in the back to this one, back one, and treble in the back. So we're going to do that. Oops. Treble in the back, don't finish, back one, don't finish, treble in the back, don't finish, you have 4 on your hook, yarn over, take off, chain 1. You just made this triple stitch belonging here. Now we have front one, oops, now we have front one together with triple in the back, front one, don't finish, triple in the back, 3 on your hook, yarn over and chain 1, front 3, front 3, triple in the back, together with front 1, front 1, back 1, no, I put it wrong, and you see in the last window, chain 3 for next row. You have diagonal here, here, this double diagonal, and these here. Now we're going to make a B, which starts with back 2, then 7 in the back, have a diagonal, so I have to see the diagonal belongs to this stitch, and I have to put my stitch between these two, so I have to go pick it up, 1, second in the chain space, third in the stitch, fourth in the chain space, fifth in the stitch, sixth in the chain space, and seven in the stitch with a diagonal. So I bring it to the back. Back one, front two, back one. Now again, 7 solids, I did that wrong. And end your row with 3 in the back. That's your row 8B, 8A and 8B done. For row 9A, which is reaching the half, so it's the last one of this video, I will make a video for the rest. You start B color to the front, you start with front 1, 2 in the back, now you have a triple in the front on your last stitch together with, these are kind of sticky sometimes. Don't finish it off, together with a back 1. 3 on your hook, yarn over and chain 1. Back 3. Triple in the front, together with a front 1. So that's your triple in the front, always without finishing it. Front 1, finish it off, chain 1, back 1. Maybe I could just show you, when you have done a double diagonal, there's a lot of yarn here. Just make sure your next stitch you pick just the top. That was back 1. Now a front 1 together with, don't finish, together with a triple in the front. 3 on your hook, yarn over, finish off, chain 1. Back 3, now a back 1 together with a triple in the front. Yarn over, finish it off, chain 1, 2 in the back, and 1 in the front, finish with a DC in the last window, and then the last row of this tutorial, of this video, the tutorial continues in the next. Starts with front 3, there's a diagonal, so we fetch the stitch behind the diagonal. That's front 3. Now 3 in the front solids. The last stitch was in this one, I skip this one, I start my solids here. 1, 2, 3. Now I make 2 in the back and 3 solids twice. 1 in the back, 2 in the back, and 3 solids in the front. And again, 2 in the back, 3 solids in the front. 1, 2, skip that one, 3 in the front, and we finish off with front 4. Oops, I have to get that stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you reached halfway. That's row 9, A and B finished. And that's what it looks like.